Hello everybody, welcome to the Hustle Bubble. Here we have Breyanie Pearson. Just to list a few things, amazing things that she has done. So she's in real estate, she's just certified notary. She's the owner of Bloom, which is a wellness community. I know you mentioned that you like Moscato,
yes.
So I got you this. I love Diasta, but
I never had that kind either.
yeah, so I'll pour you a glass. Alright.
Appreciate it.
Welcome.
What is this called?
Diasta. Moscato Diasta. I can't pronounce the first name.
It tastes like, you ever had Bartonera?
The blue bottle?
Yeah. It tastes just like it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now I know about that one. That's good.
So, after I just mentioned all the things that you do, so where do you find the time to sleep?
Well, the funny thing is I sleep like a lot.
Oh,
See, a lot of people wouldn't think that. But I'm more of like a morning day person.
Okay.
Nighttime, I'm no good. So a lot of times it's really just cramming in as much as I can during the day. I tend to go to sleep on the earlier side, like maybe like 10, 11 sometimes, depending on what I have to do. But I make time for it because I've learned that like that's important.
Absolutely.
When you have a lot going on to like recharge and get through stuff. So I find time to sleep. That's not really an issue. I haven't hit that part of like, pulling all-nighters all the time yet, but I'm sure that is probably gonna come sooner than later.
Yeah, because it's interesting. So I basically was like stalking all your social medias, and I had no idea that you were like this involved and things like that. So how do you manage like keeping up with so many social media accounts?
So it's actually funny. There's times where I want to delete, like not delete, but just be off of my accounts. But it's hard to do when you have a platform that's like wellness and you are supposed to, motivate people, keep people going, things like that. My real estate stuff, since COVID happened, I decided to join a like cloud-based real estate brokerage, so you can work from anywhere.
Okay.
So a lot of the work is being online and finding different clients and stuff like that. So, I think not being afraid to like step away and put my phone down. Like I have times during the day where I just like slide it to the side and say like, okay, I'm gonna dedicate this time to doing, posting a quote or something in the morning, or, posting something about real estate. So I make time so that it's not all over the place, and then I'm able to just like turn my phone off and push it to the side when I want to.
That's great. So like for our listeners, what kind of like tips or things like that for you to like kind of manage that busy schedule of like, okay, I need to keep up with my presence, and how do I do that?
So one thing that I use for my job, because I still have a 9 to 5, is something called Hootsuite. So you can find like a website or an app that lets you schedule out social media in advance. Scheduling is the easiest way to do it, kind of having a planner of what do I want to talk about this day, and then you can find the posts that you want to post, schedule them out, and leave it alone. Like you can put what time you want it to be posted, to which platforms, and then it does it for you. So it's kind of easier if you dedicate time to just scheduling as much as you can.
Oh, that's awesome.
Advance, yeah.
Because I know like most entrepreneurs still have their 9 to 5 that they're still working, and it's like you're working during the day, but then now you got to focus on yourself at night. So that's a great compromise to do that.
Yeah,
awesome.
scheduling stuff out, and then even with COVID now, it's kind of like how you were saying. I finesse it. Like I find ways to work on different things even when I'm at home and I'm supposed to be working my 9 to 5. So just making as much time as you can to get what you need to get done. Pretty much it.
Absolutely. Another thing I want to touch on. So I see that you're into wellness. How does an entrepreneur knows the difference between like working hard and then like a burnout where it's detrimental to their health?
So I feel like you don't learn that until it happens. And I'll tell anybody, like even when I've applied for jobs and they look at my resume and they're like, when did you find time to do this? Like you're in a sorority, you do this, you do this. It's a lot of stuff. But I always say that one of the reasons I decided to start my wellness platform was because I noticed that keeping myself excessively busy was a way that I coped with a lot of different things. Like I had to keep moving. Like, I just kept myself moving, but it wasn't always the best thing to do. Sometimes you need to know when to slow down, because I noticed that I had a lot going on, but I wasn't dedicating as much time and attention to each thing as I should have. So as far as knowing when it's like burnout and just working hard, it's just being honest with yourself. Like, if you're tired, do something that's gonna make you feel like, you know, recharged and good to go. If you just need like a break, take that break. Just being honest with yourself and knowing that the only way you can really give your best is when you're feeling your best, and you have to take the time to achieve that.
Absolutely. I know for me, like, one of the things that I do is meditate. And that is very key to me. And people sometimes get the misconception about meditating, that like you're in a circle holding your hands or whatever. But literally for me, I just lay on the floor and I just concentrate on my thoughts and how I'm feeling and why I'm feeling this way. And kind of just ask myself those questions. And then afterwards, 5-10 minutes, I'm in a better mood, I'm recharged, and I'm ready to go. Our next question, one of your recent accomplishments, realtor, how did that come about?
So my dad started a development team, a real estate development team about 2 years ago. So the team actually is in Baltimore right now, but it's called Re-Edify Baltimore. So they plan to change the state every time they move to a different state. So if they started developing in Jersey, it'll be like Re-Edify New Jersey. So my dad started that, and that was kind of my first look into real estate. I guess you said my profession, what I went back to grad school for, is nonprofit management. So one of the things with real estate is ownership, and I think that's something that I didn't really learn as a child, but that I'm learning as I get older. And I noticed that that's not something that we really learn about within the Black community. So my end goal was to get my real estate license, and then my dad has a nonprofit organization that he started that he doesn't really dedicate as much time to, but to take over that and kind of mesh them together, to teach, minorities about ownership and, how to just have things in your name and not like rent from somebody and be tied to that for the rest of your life. So it started with my dad. That's how I got exposed to it.
Absolutely. I remember, speaking of ownership, I remember reading about Tyler Perry, and a lot of people may say negative things about his movies. It might be corny or whatever, or things like that. But one of his things is that ownership. Everything he does is about ownership. I remember he was talking about how his dad would work for a guy who built homes or whatever, and he'd be so happy to get his $800 check, but meanwhile the guy who sold it made like over hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he was like, I don't want to be that, I want to be that guy, So that's what he said, ownership, that's how we create generational wealth.
Exactly.
So very critical. So for someone that's that want to be a real estate, what kind of tips or how to prepare for the test?
So it's a lot of work, I'm gonna be honest. The way that it works is you start out by going to a real estate school. So you find a school. Now it's a little bit easier because COVID, you can do it online. But at the time when I did it, it was in person. So the course itself was 75 hours. So I was going 2 or 3 times a week right after work from 6 to 10. So it was a lot. The state test, find somebody that took it already and pick their brain. Because I don't know, I'm more of a visual learner, so I had to talk to a lot of people instead of just reading the textbook. That doesn't work for me. There's a lot of other websites that you can use, Prep Agent is really cool. That's on YouTube, it's free. You can just watch the videos. Night before the exam is what I used to study. And it's a lot of work and it's not easy. I didn't pass the first time I took it. So it was very discouraging to go back because nobody wants to, the feeling of failure is not a good feeling. But also when you start something, it's I did all of this already, so might as well finish it. So I went back, got my license, but I'm gonna be honest, after you take the state exam, it is expensive. Be honest with yourself when you decide to go into real estate, because whatever brokerage you decide to work for, you have fees for that. Whatever MLS that you have fees for that. You get a website domain, there's fees for it. It's a lot of money. So if you're gonna do it, really commit yourself to it, because it's too expensive for you to just kind of have the license, pay all this money, and to not actually do anything with it. So
for our listeners, what is MLS?
So it's the multiple listing services. So say for example, you want to sell a house in like Bergen County. I can go online and everybody who has houses listed that are for sale, you can see all of the houses, different counties. There are different MLSs. So I'm in Bergen County. So the one that I'm a part of is called New Jersey MLS. And that's just like Bergen, Essex, Passaic, and Hudson County. And then Greater Bergen is like around this area.
Yeah.
It's like Central Jersey. So there are different ones that you can be a part of. You can be a part of one, you can be a part of more than one. But you can only do real estate within the counties that you're a part of. So some people join more than one MLS, but it's more money if you want to do that. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because speaking of MLS, I know sometimes people utilize Zillow, but sometimes it doesn't bring up accurate information.
Yeah.
So I know MLS, that's
more accurate.
Yeah, it's more accurate. What kind of like tips and things do you have for people who are interested in buying a person?
So the first thing is the market changes like all the time. So what I do if somebody's interested in buying a home is I put together a form that has questions that you should kind of ask yourself before looking to buy a home. So some of those questions are, are you pre-approved? Like what's your credit score? Debt to income ratio, how much you're willing to spend, financing, are you gonna do like conventional loans, FHA, VA? There's so many different types of mortgage, like loans that you can get for your mortgage. And then another important question is some people buy houses and live in there for like a year. It's called house hacking. And then you rent it out. And that's a smart thing to do, even if you don't necessarily want to be somewhere for a long time. Once you buy the home, it's in your name, you can rent it out to people and you profit off of the houses. So it's a lot of different things. It's what condition of house you want to go into. Fixer-uppers are a little bit more work, or not a little bit. They're a lot more work because you have to have contractors, people that can do the work in the houses. And then you can also find a real estate agent that'll do majority of, that background work for you. But usually the most important things is making sure that you have like your finances together and get pre-approved. That's like the first step is pre-approval, because then you'll know how much you can spend on a home. And then from there, you'll go into having your real estate agent help you select out different homes that you want to look into, go to open houses. Home inspection is the next step. After the home inspection, if everything is good to go, that's when you meet the seller at the table and you sign everything over. So just asking questions, like, there's a lot of people that are real estate agents and reaching out to them. You can even Google like steps to buy a home. And then usually that's a lot like really accurate on the steps that you should take.
Awesome. I know for me personally, like when I went to go like buy my first home, I didn't really know too much about it, and I didn't know that you had to do a house inspection and things like that. And one of the houses I was looking at first had a basement, and the house inspector got there. I was so happy about this house. He was pointing at so many different things that I never saw, never looked at. He turned the water on, was like, hey, something's not going on here and things like that. When he went to the basement, he saw that there were cracks in there, and he was like, okay, this is structure, something's wrong with that. So then, I had to pay him money. It was like $800. Then I had to go get somebody else, the engineer, to check it out and things like that. So there's so much, and I ended up not even buying the house. There's just so much that you have to like prepare yourself financially when you're going to look and buy your first house, because I definitely did lose some money, but it's not to discourage you from buying your first house. It's just make sure that you have money set aside for anything, just like, because those things definitely happen. And now I'm afraid of basements.
That's usually where the issues are though, in the basement. That's where like all your, like your septic tanks and all that stuff, piping. That's where it all stems from. So
as soon as I see a house with a basement, I just cringe a little bit. But the crazy thing is that that's really where people add their value at, is the basement. They get it redone. They can, speaking of like the house hacking, move somebody in, move them down there, and raise income like that.
Exactly.
How do you plan on like making it successful online business?
Presence and consistency is probably the hardest part of it all, especially having different platforms. So one thing that I don't do, and it's funny that I gave a tip on how you should do it with your social media, is plan it out enough. So this year I'm gonna hold myself accountable and plan things out a little bit more. It's also important to look at what other people are doing on platforms similar to yours and think of ways that you can do it differently. So a while ago, I started something similar to what you're doing, but it was called Speak Your Truth, and I had it for my wellness platform. And I didn't know a lot of people that were doing like interviews at the time with different people instead of just, nobody really wants to read long things. We're like really quick, fast paced. So if it's an interview or something where we can just listen to it, it usually does a lot better. So I did like video interviews maybe like a year or two ago, and they got great feedback. So
I do remember.
Yeah, like I interviewed a bunch of people like Ariel, Joe, this girl named Kayla. So it was really, really cool. Just staying different, I think is important. Like don't feel like you have to mirror exactly what somebody else is doing on social media. It's important to use that as like groundwork and a basis of how you can start to have a good presence on social media. But just staying different. So I think challenging myself to do more. I want to start like a YouTube channel for my real estate stuff, like a blog that kind of tracks. I started in November, so I have a while to go until my first year. So I want to do like a channel or something that shows like my first year in real estate.
Okay.
So it's challenging myself a little bit.
So it's gonna be like walkthroughs of a house that you're selling, that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's what I want to do. So if I have like an open house, showing like how you prepare for an open house, because one of the hardest things in real estate is if you don't have like a good mentor, you will feel really lost in it. Like there's so much to do with real estate as far as like contracts and home inspections, walkthroughs, open houses. So if I can help somebody else access that easier, that's my goal, so that you're not like in it and just like I don't know where to start. So
how would someone find a mentor?
So my real estate brokerage actually has a mentorship program, but the only downside to that is if you do decide to be a part of the mentorship program, there's like 3 transactions that you have to do with the mentor, and then obviously the mentor gets like a portion of whatever the houses sell for. So you can put yourself out there, and that's kind of what I've been doing. We have a chat called like Workplace, and I just ask like, hey, does anybody have an open house in any of the counties that I work in, and just volunteer to go help. Like I'll come help for free type of thing. Like you give up a Saturday or a Sunday for a few hours, but you're learning and not having to like split your money. So just kind of, it's a humbling process. Like just being like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go to this open house. I'm not gonna gain anything from going financially, but the information is endless. So just throwing yourself out there, you have to be like super hungry in real estate, because one reason that I'm not like a full-time entrepreneur and I want to quit my job, my 9 to 5 so bad, but I have to find like that real cold hard beast in me in real estate before I decide to just be done with my 9 to 5. Because if you don't sell anything, you don't make anything. So
yeah. So what kind of like the biggest challenges have you faced so far as real estate agent?
So the hardest part is not many people around, I'm 24, so not many people around my age either know about real estate, are looking to buy a home right now. So it's a little bit more challenging when finding like the crowd that you market to. So that's been one of the biggest challenges, is finding people around my age that I know immediately. Like when you start, you can build what's called a real estate sphere, and it's like 200 people that you know that just in your life that you know that could potentially want to buy a home in a year, 2 years, whatever, down the line. And you're just like, I know a lot of people, but I don't know how many people want to buy homes. So like finding the crowd that like I can work to, but it's also good because even if people around our age don't want to buy homes right now, that may be something that you're looking to do in like 2 years, or you can refer somebody that you know is looking. So finding my crowd was very challenging in the beginning.
Yeah, I know that must be tough, because a lot of people, like especially our age, is not even thinking that long term, or might not see the importance of like ownership and having your own home and things like that. But like if people only knew that like the rent is going to be a lot more higher than the mortgage and things like that. So once I found that information, it took me far. And the funny thing is that so I graduated with my master's, and I had to move back home. Hated it. Didn't like being back home. And I was literally going to use my first 2 checks, go rent somewhere and stay out with my mom. She was like, own your own, stay here for a little bit, stack your money up, and then move out. And that was literally like one of the best advice, because I didn't see it being so young. I'm saying it was gonna be but yeah, like just being able to have somebody tell you that and things like that really goes a long way. And I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, my dad does the same thing. Like, you could move out now, but he's really big on the whole house hacking thing. Like, no, I want your first spot to be like a home, and then you just live there for a year and you rent it out. So it's tough, but the long-term impact of it is greater than saving all this money to just give it to somebody else. At least you know, like, okay, I have to stay home for a little while, save more money, but once I invest that money in my home, I'm gonna get it back tenfold, instead of just being like, I'm giving this landlord this money every month, and it's feeding you, but I'm not getting anything from it.
Exactly. Literally, you can give it down to your children and things like that, and pass it along. It's I remember I watch Bigger Pockets a lot, and the game that they just be giving about house hacking and how people do it, and it's essentially like just living uncomfortable, just delaying your gratifications can really just go far, and they're able to live a better lifestyle years to come. So definitely house hacking is incredible. So I know you mentioned that you want to leave the 9-to-5 and go full-time entrepreneur. What do you think is like the biggest fear for like entrepreneurs, or what has been your biggest fear?
Not having consistent money. that's the biggest thing. At least I know, all right, I'm not really a fan of my job, but I know I get paid every month. When you're an entrepreneur, it's like really knowing that if the market is off and people aren't buying homes right now, it's gonna take me a little bit longer, to sell. Or, all right, I have this wellness platform and I enjoy doing it, but once you have your hands in different things, it's like you can enjoy something, but you kind of essentially could make a profit from it because you're investing time. Like, once you invest time, time is more expensive than money sometimes. So just the fear of not having like consistent income. So with real estate, it's like it takes a little bit longer, but once you sell a home and you get the commission from the house, it's like way more than you probably get at your 9-to-5, but it just takes a little bit longer. So definitely the uncertainty of it, I would say.
So how can someone like yourself like manage that fear?
You gotta go hard. Like, I think that's been my biggest thing. I told myself that this year was gonna be the year where I didn't take things personally, where I didn't look at things as a personal attack. My dad is very, not hard on me, but he's very straightforward. Like, okay, you could be doing more. You're doing this, but you could do this. You have to get uncomfortable with being comfortable. So not taking things personally and letting somebody kind of guide you. Like, I'm learning that as annoying as my dad could be sometimes, it's not coming from a place of like, it's coming from a place of, I want to see you be great. I want you to learn the things that I wish I would have learned at your age. So just you can find a mentor. The crazy thing is now you don't even really need an actual person. There's so many people that do like YouTube videos and all that you can just Google things and find out more information. So yeah, I would definitely say like just finding like the beast in me. I have to get uncomfortable with being comfortable.
Yeah, and it's huge. I remember like just trying to do everything can be a lot and consuming. Sometimes you need that inspiration. I know for me, I watch a lot of Eric Thomas, his podcast, and one time he had Inky Johnson, and he was telling his story, and basically his father was saying like, no matter how hard you go, there's someone inside you that goes even harder, and I need you to pull that out.
Yeah.
And like I listen to that and I be like, okay, no matter how hard I go, I can go harder.
Exactly.
You can go harder. What's your like driving force? I know you mentioned that it's easier, to do the 9 to 5 and you get consistent money. Why would you want to leave that and do an entrepreneur where it's much harder, where you kind of like, it's not consistent, there's a lot of ifs, but that there's consistent money in the 9 to 5. So what's that driving force?
Not wanting to report to anybody. I don't like taking orders or having. One thing about my job is they're very stuck in their ways, so they're scared to like change things up a little bit. But the type of person I am is, if I know something is not working, I'm gonna want to change it.
Yeah.
But if I'm at a job where it's like, this is how we do it and this is just it, it doesn't really work for me. So, and I feel like sometimes a job can hold you back, a 9 to 5 can hold you back, because you spend 8 hours of your time at that job. So it's like, yeah, you're getting a consistent check, but are you actually doing anything that's beneficial to you or the people that you want to receive the information and stuff that you're giving out? So just reporting to people, just being stuck in your ways, having jobs that are stuck in their ways. And yeah, I just don't like it anymore. I'm getting like past that part of my life where I don't.
Absolutely. I know, like for me, like when COVID hit and I was working from home, and I was like, and then like even like a couple weeks ago, I was like, I can't believe I used to drive to work every single day, pay toll, because I work over Philly, pay toll every single day, and like sit there for like 8 hours and just work there. And it's so crazy how so against it I am now, because it's like you can work there for 20, 30 years, you can give your whole life there, and then when that time is up, they're gonna hire somebody younger, faster, smarter, and pay them for cheaper. Exactly. And that's the game.
And I've also learned with COVID is like, I don't need to physically be at my job to do my job.
Yeah.
And so at first we weren't there at all. Then they had us come back 2 days a week, and then it was 3, and they tried to have us come back 5. And I told them, like, I'm not coming back here 5 days a week, because I don't need to. Like, if it's less time that I can be around you guys and be in the office environment to like stay safe, then I'm not gonna do it. So now it's just like, you don't need to physically be at a lot of jobs to do your job. So the 5 days a week thing was crazy.
Yeah, I can't even imagine it anymore. Next question I have. So like, what has been like a book that you referred to? Like, what interesting book have you read?
So there's a book. I'll just talk about like the most recent one that I've read. It's called The Book of Yes. Mm-hmm. So it is related to like real estate, but it's kind of guided conversations of all the no's that you can possibly get, but then based off of like the scripts and the advice that they give you is how to get the yes out of people. So kind of like persuasion. Like, I know my senior year of college, I took a persuasion class, and it's like, you can pretty much get any answer you want out of somebody if you ask it the right way. If you kind of like cancel out all the things that they could possibly tell you no about beforehand, then they really will have no choice to, maybe say, let me think about it is not a no. So it's okay with a let me think about it, because a no is kind of like a closed door at that moment. But the Book of Yes has been great in just like guided conversations and in different scenarios, knowing what questions to ask. And essentially, however confident you are will determine the response that you'll get from some people. So that's been
that's very interesting. It's funny because like on Bigger Pockets, he says how when he put in a bid for a house or whatever, he's used an offer, they say no, and then like 3 months later he puts in the same offer, they say no, he puts in the same one, and then they go for it. So it's like just having just that consistency, and also it's like it's reminding them how nothing has changed from the first offer to the next. So they want to get it off the market. So that's pretty interesting. The last question for the day is, how can people find you?
So a few different things. My real estate Instagram social media is Making Moves with Bree. If you're looking to Craven's Corner, you spoke about Craven's Corner, but it is a dessert business that I started with my boyfriend, and I do all of North Jersey. He does Central Jersey. So if you're looking to like getting desserts. We have like cheesecake, banana pudding, cakes, Cravings Corner, and J. I don't have a business page for my notary stuff, but if you ever need anything notarized, you can always just reach out to me on any of those platforms. And the last thing is my wellness page. It is __ the Bloom Room. So BLTHEBLOOMROOM.